everyone. Welcome back to Change Your Perspective, Change Your Awareness, Change Your Life. I'm Dr. Michelina, hashtag that Bellin Doctor, here to talk to you about all things that are virtuous today, and specifically to talk to you about temperance. Okay, so temperance is something we, again, are woefully in need of, and mainly because temperance has to do with self-restraint, self-control, self-discipline, moderation, and like knowing your limits and mastering your instincts. Right. So no wonder I'm telling you all of that, and you can already tell, you can look around and see that's not our strong suit, especially not here in America. We are not disciplined in most things. We are not disciplined over our minds. We are not disciplined over our bodies. We are not disciplined over our houses. We are not disciplined in our relationships. Like, we have gotten so far away from having that kind of order and having that kind of boundary parameter set in whatever form, right? We're so far away from it. Like, you go into probably any American household at like 7 o'clock at night, and it's probably either chaos is ensuing or people are sitting in front of the TV like munching. I would say probably like 90% of families are doing that. So few people are practicing moderation and self-restraint. Yes, I want this thing, but I'm not going to do it. Or, you know what, I do want this thing, I'm just gonna give myself a taste of it. We're very, very bad at that because we give into pleasure all the time and we shy away from pain all the time. And because we're always giving into pleasure and we're shying away from pain, we're giving into the things that make us feel good, which is overindulging. And we are shying away from the things that are a little bit harder and not so fun, i.e. limiting. We don't like to be limited. We don't like to put parameters on things. We don't like to have moderation. Like, this country, especially, like, you go to Cracker Barrel, right? I went to Cracker Barrel for the first time last year. I didn't know what a Cracker Barrel was until I moved to the South. And let me tell you that for like $10, you get like 5 meals in one. We overindulge all the time. We're overindulging in drink. We're overindulging in spending. We're overindulging in entertainment. Again, I will bring it back to, we traded a terrorist for Brittany Griner. Okay, if that's not an overindulgence in entertainment, I don't know what is. Because at the end of the day, athletes are entertainers. That's what they are. And so if that doesn't give you a really good perspective on the fact that we really value entertainment and fun and pleasure, and we really don't value the disciplined practices that make success happen, well, don't wonder why, if you look around, you're going to see a lot of people who aren't successful. And it's like, well, wait a minute, they are successful. They're working a job they hate, to live a life they can't stand, to take care of things they don't want. Like, very few people have freedom. When I say successful, I mean freedom. If you don't have freedom, I don't think you're a success. I just don't. If you don't have freedom of time and freedom of money and freedom of education and freedom of energy and freedom of attention, like, you're not the one. Like, you're not successful to me. Right? Like, I don't count myself as a complete success because I don't have freedom over my life right now due to the political judicial system. Right? I can't count myself a complete success yet because I'm not free in that way. I will be. The freedom will come. It always does. I believe that justice does exist, and I do believe that good things get rewarded. But if you're not free, you're enslaved. And when you are not temperate, when you're not practicing temperance, you are a slave to your desires. And when you are a slave to your desires, you have no control over your life. And when you have no control over your life, you are in bondage to yourself and to society. And it's very easy to get power over you. It's not hard. It's not. Because you don't have power over yourself. Because you don't have discipline over yourself. You don't have control over yourself. You don't know how to say no. You don't know how to say, I don't want that. You don't know how to say, I do want that, but I'm not going to do it. That's a hard thing, which we all struggle with. We all struggle it. Struggle city to do that. It's very hard to be like, yeah, I do want to do this thing, but I'm choosing not to do it. But the power that exists in that, the power over yourself, that exists in that. I do want to do this thing, but it doesn't serve me, so I'm not going to, is such a powerful mentality. Temperance is tricky because it means moderation to all things. It means disciplining down in such a way that you are not doing things overindulgently. So I'm going to ask you, because I am sure there are places in your life where you could be more temperate. What do you do too much of? People pleasing, spending, eating, working, masturbating? Like, right? That's a whole slew of things. I mean, I could continue. Right? And my thing is, what do you do too much of? Because that's a glaring place where you could practice temperance, where you can practice self-control, where you can practice discipline, where you can try to get some control over yourself again. That's the first place to start. It'll be the hardest place to start because it's the thing that you're the most comfortable with, right? If you're doing something in excess, you're doing something too much, you're overindulging in something, it's probably because that practice has now made you feel safe in some way. Even if you hate it, it makes you feel safe in some way. It makes you feel taken care of in some way. It makes you feel in control in some way, even though you're not in control at all. Very interesting. Temperance is a very, very interesting thing. And so self-restraint is something that we don't do a lot of. We don't restrain ourselves. We depend on other people to restrain us. That's something that we're not taught as children a lot of times. It's like our parents are constantly policing us, and they don't give us the tools to police ourselves. They don't give us the tools to discipline ourselves. And that's not a failing or falling on their part. It's harder to do, to teach someone how to discipline themselves than to just tell them no and don't tell them why. It's a hard thing. Listen, I'm not coming down on parents here. Parenting is the hardest job in the world. It's why I don't want it. I don't want to be a parent because it is a hard job that you can't do correctly, and you can do incorrectly 1,000 ways. No, thank you. So I'm not the one for that. But I will say that we do not, in the schools, we don't, because it's not the school's job, unfortunately. So that law leaves families. And in families, I mean, people are just trying to survive. They're not trying to teach their kids how to discipline themselves. Now, some are. This is a blanket overgeneralization, right? But I would say, as a sort of collective, we don't teach discipline. We don't teach discipline. And if people do learn it, they learn it at like a advanced breakneck, your life is on the line kind of a situation, like the military. You go and learn some discipline in the military, but it's like a forced submission. It's like a forced subjugation. So it's not the same as like a willful restraint. It's just in a different energy. It's in a different vein, right? Like, okay, so for me, even when I did not practice temperance. I did not practice self-restraint. It got me landed in jail. Okay. If I would have said, hey, I would like to do this, but I'm not going to do this, I wouldn't be in jail. I wouldn't be on probation, right? I wouldn't be that felon doctor. Self-restraint keeps you out of trouble. But because I didn't do it, because I never learned it, because I didn't understand it, because I didn't like discipline in that way in my own personal life, not my professional life, not my athletic life, in my personal being, right? I got put into a situation that forced me to submit, forced me to be subjugated. And I resented the hell out of it. I still do resent it, to be perfectly honest. I'm never not going to resent it because it was forced upon me in a way that I don't appreciate. Now, I see the value in restraint and moderation and discipline, but that I did for myself because I saw the value of it from other sources in other ways. I'm never going to see the value of the punishment that was placed on me as far as like it doing what it's supposed to do in society. Not going to get into it. It's too irrelevant here, but maybe tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see. But for me, discipline comes from the willful submission of the thing. I am willingly not doing this thing, even though I want to, because I know this doesn't serve me in this way, shape, or form. That's why temperance is so hard, because forced discipline doesn't teach temperance. It's something you have to cultivate inside of you, that you have to see the value of. It's really tricky. Temperance is a really tricky one. And it's very hard. It's very tricky to teach, which is why obviously here we are in this very not temperance society that's overindulging in everything all the time. Right? So I hope that's an interesting insight for you. I hope that jogs some things into your awareness. Where are you overindulging? Where do you need to practice temperance? Where do you need some discipline? I promise you, everybody who's successful knows how to be temperate. They don't always have to practice it, but they did it to get where they are. Promise you that. Read any success story. So with that being said, we're going to talk about the next one tomorrow, and then we'll be moving on to a new series over the next couple days. And so if you like what you're seeing, subscribe, hit the bell, comment below, tell your friends, and appreciate you guys being here. I hope this is super helpful for you, and I'll see you guys on the next video.